Hi everyone, thanks for coming back. This is a little bit of time to just have a conversation with Rabbi SAM and ask anything that's on our minds about anything.
Which invoice? Rabbi SAM?
It's maybe one. Sam, will you talk into the mic and that'll...
Testing.
There.
One.
Is it on?
No, you know, yeah.
Is that mic on or you have to do the button?
No button.
No button.
Testing.
So the number one,
Testing. Testing.
Yeah, can anything?
Da, da, da.
Is there a switch on the mic? We can still ask and Sam can still talk and we'll work on the mic, but let's,
Testing. Do you
Rabbi
have
Deb,
questions?
are we being recorded?
Yeah.
yes. Would you rather not be?
No, I was just curious.
Okay. Sorry, Sam.
You need to be much louder
Yeah.
because we don't hear it through the mic.
Does anyone have a question?
Sam, I was wondering how you're feeling your relationship to the social justice aspects of Kihila's definition and identity.
Thank you. I feel very enthusiastic about Kihila's focus and participation in social justice work. I think that's part of what inspired me to grow into this community over the last decades. Was the intersection of spirituality and social justice that is so resonant and so fully lived in this community. This particular position is not very directly involved with supporting or organizing on that side of the community, and I would be thrilled to support that work in whatever ways make sense within the position and as an enthusiastic community member. Either way, basically.
Can you follow up a little bit, just saying something about areas where you're drawn in your own justice work, in your thinking?
Rabbi Dev asked about specific areas that I'm drawn. I've been very involved with racial justice and particularly during my internship at Kihila 2 years ago was part of launching the Belonging and Allyship project. Also, I've been involved with Surge, showing up for racial justice and other projects on that side of organizing. Been quite involved with supporting immigrants, being present, for example, at the ICE detention center when we were there monthly. More recently, I've been involved with Jewel, Jews on Ohlone Land, the Segorte Land Trust, and the Shu'umi Land Tax, and had the pleasure of bringing my brother Errol Lucky, co-founder of Jewel with Rabbi Dev, to Boston to bring that work and that information to a wide community there, people that were really excited to hear about what's happening here in the Bay Area. And I've been, as part of organizing to bring that and also to bring our local Rabbi Lynn Gottlieb to Boston to teach about reparations as tshuva. I've been involved with Indigenous solidarity organizing and racial justice organizing in Boston, particularly in the Jewish community there. There's so many things to support, and those are the things I've been more actively taking part in some leadership, in addition to showing up for many different kinds of causes.
How are you feeling about education and working with young people now that you're a little more experienced?
Thank you. So the question is, how am I feeling about education and working with young people? I'm currently working with youth and teens, 3rd graders through 11th graders, and really enjoying getting to know them and getting to grow with them and bring them into some Jewish history and conversations and culture and ritual. Particularly, I'm working a lot with 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. So that's been a population that I've been starting to get to know better. I love their energy, and I particularly love that their energy is very physical as well as mind focus, that there's a lot of movement and enthusiasm and connection moving through their bodies as we learn together. This particular position involves working with B'nai Mitzvah families and students, and I am very interested in developing those kinds of relationships. That age group don't yet have a lot of experience, but I've been coaching B'nai Mitzvah students one-on-one, kind of using theater exercises really to help them think about public speaking and being confident and praying, not just as a performance, but as an experience in preparation for leading a service. So it's been fun, and it's a learning curve that I'm on. Thanks, Mickey.
What do you think would be most fun and most challenging about working here at Kehillah?
I think one thing that would be most fun is getting to collaborate and work with the clergy, the lay leadership, the musical leadership, the staff, just the people that are holding together and supporting this community. Is a very fun team of people. So working together with them, I think, would be a highlight. For me, it's a part-time job. It's 20 hours a week, and I think a challenge would be figuring out how to craft those 20 hours to be addressing several different projects and type of work and type of roles within the community. A challenge I'm sure many of us have in our work and in our lives, to limit and to prioritize and to figure out how to do a lot with a limited amount of time that's available.
Rabbi Bert asked you yesterday, I'm not gonna get it exactly right, but I wanna try to re-bring that question to a wider group of people, and actually the answer, same or different. I think what he asked, and you can tell me if it's different, something about how has Kehillah informed your experience as you've gone out into this much wider world of lots of different Jewish communities and ways of practicing Judaism, and what has emerged for you as the things that are the gifts of Kehillah that you've taken with you, And also, when you think about coming to the community, what is it that you feel you're bringing and want to give and contribute? Is that sort of what he is?
Yeah. As my spiritual home, growing up in my early 20s, Kahila was very impactful in my relationship to Judaism, particularly centering social justice as part of spiritual practice and community. And particularly the neo-Hasidic side, the emotional, spiritual, sometimes ecstatic, personal, meditative energy of Kahila and of the renewal movement, I would say, more widely, has been really formative to my own sense of prayer and my own spiritual practice. I was telling Bert, I'm often explaining or attempting to explain Kahila community practices and values to other people and other communities, and frequently places are really looking for ways to integrate spirituality, community building, and social justice, and struggling with figuring that out, especially social justice that goes beyond service and kind of charity models. And not that there's something finished about it, but I think a lot of that figuring out has been very successful in this community, and is really strongly modeled and interwoven. So I feel like that's something I'm bringing to the other communities that I'm part of. And some of my experiences in other communities that have influenced my own practice of Judaism and identity. I've been living in Jamaica Plain in Boston. There's a very sweet Jewish community in that neighborhood and a really strong Shabbat culture. Davening, praying together Friday nights, Saturday mornings, different people showing up each time, but kind of a good communal energy around that, and also a lot of shared meals, inviting people over for dinner or for lunch, friends, strangers, someone you meet at shul, do you have a place to eat, interweaving the community in this rhythm of Shabbat. That's been a really powerful part of my experience there, and something that I would love to encourage and bring into the Kahila community and the Bay Area community, where it's happening in little bubbling pieces, but I think we can learn from a little bit the East Coast culture around that. And I would say one other thing, I've been doing a lot of text study as part of rabbinical school, as part of Sfara, traditionally radical yeshiva, that I'm doing a Talmud teacher training through, tongue twister. A lot of text study of Jewish texts in the original languages, Talmud, Midrash, Torah, like there's so many different kinds of Jewish texts, but that's been a big part of my learning, and I would love to bring the energy of text study, direct engagement with some of our core conversations into this community, or to make some spaces where there's possibility for that. And I know it's 700 mentions, is, for example, is already bringing people into Talmud study here in the original language, accessible for everybody who can read the alphabet. So with Hebrew, not as a barrier, but as a playground for people to play in. And I have really been developing my own text skills and my text teaching skills and my language skills, and I think it would be fun to bring some of that energy as well. Questions?
I have a follow-up question. Given how Kahila has grown tremendously in the last 4 years and hundreds of households are new to our community, and those households include people of many ages and generations, but we also have an increasingly growing group of young adults and young or young-ish young families. And I wonder if you could speak to ideas, thoughts, strategies, that, approaches you might bring, whether you're enacting them or helping us figure out how we and other lay leaders enact them, finding ways of bridging connection with spiritual practice, with social justice work, how to make the mystery of all these amazing pockets of energy more revealed and connective.
How to make the mystery of all these pockets of energy more revealed and connected. Okay.
That's good.
I think more revealed is part of what I would encourage. Being explicit about the pockets of energy, the connections and communities that people are building already. Naming them, inviting people into them in different ways, and supporting their, not necessarily growth maybe as well, but supporting their deepening in their connections within different pockets of the community. On the one hand, and on the other hand, inviting people together. Oh.
Just maybe you might want to see some people. There we go. Carry on.
Inviting people together to learn about other parts of the community, especially between old-time members and newer members in Kahila. I think it would be really wonderful to do some sharing of stories, of memories, of inspirations. What drew people here in the 80s, what drew people here in the 90s, in the aughts, in the teens, and now in the 20s. So really learn more about how our community has changed and grown and evolved and been impacted by the people who have been holding it and participating over those years. And I think that sharing those stories could really be very sweet and very full of learning for all of us in understanding the community and how we build community together. That's one idea.
I want to do a time check because I know you have a plane to catch.
It's true. What time is it?
It's 1:30.
Any last questions?
What has your favorite thing been about
What has my favorite thing been about rabbinical school? Very hard to answer in the singular, but I'll give you a couple examples. At Hebrew College Rabbinical School, it's a pluralistic school, not affiliated with the movement. And we have morning davening each day of the week with different themes. Different types of davening, different ways of engaging with the liturgy or without the liturgy, with languages, Hebrew, English, poetry, singing, chanting, silence. It's been a very sweet way to have regular prayer practice and also explore a lot of different ways to approach morning prayer. So that has been a highlight, a really fun piece of the community life for me. And I'll just do one other one, although it is hard to choose. I have gotten involved with the cantorial school that is also part of Hebrew College. Just kind of pulled in by my enjoyment of Nusach and the singing part of our community. So I've been doing a certificate of Jewish music, meaning basically that I get to take some of the cantorial classes in addition to the rabbinical classes. And getting some voice lessons, which has been really a gift. And I've been singing with the choir, Kol Harev, Jewish chamber music choir. I'm in alto. And that really has been such a delight and a space of growth for me in my own relationship with music, with my voice, with my breath, and with a different part of Jewish culture and the community. So I would say that's been another highlight for me, another favorite. Thanks.
I'll piggyback on that question. What's the most challenging for you?
Mm-hmm. Most challenging thing at rabbinical school. In part, I'll just say the amount of work. I've been taking regularly 5, 6 plus classes a semester, and there's readings, there's writings, there's study, there's sometimes exams, there's final papers. So as far as like my brain needing to kind of like keep pumping, figuring out how to pace and how to move through a lot of learning. And I would say relatedly, I came in with some Jewish education, but less than many of my peers, and had to do a lot of Hebrew, text skill, different kinds of building of my own orientation to Jewish texts, practices. So I kind of came in running, trying to catch up a little bit, which was challenging emotionally as well as just getting through the work and the learning. I still have a fair amount of work to do in the next couple months, so that is still a challenge. But it's been really fun. Hard work.
I'm gonna take the last question. I just saw that schools in Boston are closed till April 28th. Do you still want to go back?
I do want to go back. I have a very sweet community there. I want to spend time with them while I can, even if it's at a distance. And when I move back to California, it'll be a more permanent move. So I feel like these last couple months I can enjoy Boston. However that pans out.
Thank you. Thank you for stepping into it's always a challenging thing to be part of a rabbinic search and to come and do all the things that we ask of you in quick succession and with a lot of preparations and people, and this has been changing by the day and sometimes by the hour and sometimes by the minute, and it's been, I've just really appreciated your presence and your grace and your ease in moving through all of the extraordinary challenges that have not been apparent because of the way that you've carried yourself through this. So thank you for sharing yourself, and thank you for being here.
And for your davening and your Torah teaching.
Yeah. Travel well.
Thank you, everybody, for your questions and your